Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we get a look into the innovative work of Des Moines Public Schools in building and transforming school climate and culture. Together with Dr. Genteel of Iowa State University, we're joined by Jake Troja, Director of School Climate Transformation for Des Moines Public Schools. What they are doing to bring a sense of community and value to our children's education is important to every parent and caregiver raising children. Now let's learn more about school climate and culture firsthand. Jake, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Peter. Appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Well, I'm impressed by what you do. Tell our audience what goes on at the schools and what you're trying to accomplish with school climate transformation.
Right. We'll stay narrow to that topic. If I said all the things that happen in schools, we might be here for several hours or weeks at a time. We started that down the path around school climate back in 2015. We were awarded a school climate transformation grant from the federal government. And at that point in time, those efforts are really focused on foundational structures to help students be successful at school. It looks a lot like expectations, looks a lot like routines, but then starts to turn into community building with teachers and students, with families, and then really starts to morph into providing and making sure that we are supporting the whole child. That's where we kind of started that path in 2015, and we've been working since then to really not only define school climate better within Des Moines Public Schools, but also try to reach that vision of what that would be.
What are some of the things that, when you talk about defining school climate and culture, what are sort of categorically some of the target areas that you work on?
That's a good question. So when we look at climate and culture, we think about, the climate's the way that maybe the building feels when we attend to the schools. We look for, really, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, our students' needs being met. Do we have physiological needs met? Do we have the safety, security needs, relational needs, relationship-based needs that are met for students? And we think about not only within the walls of schools, but how we can do that in preparation when students come to school. The culture part of that is kind of the routines and behaviors that become the normative value of the school setting. So we pay attention to not only how we treat each other, what behaviors we participate in, but also what's the relationship between students and students, teachers and teachers, teachers and students, and the dynamic of stakeholders involved in that. So those are how the two pieces really of climate and culture, begin to interact with each other.
Now, this is a long way from just reading, writing, and arithmetic. How do you integrate what you're doing with the classroom work? And is it extra classes? Is it the teachers being more sensitive to things? How does this work on a ground level in the school?
That's a great question. So we really look at, the whole picture of the school. We look from the large opportunities that happen across the whole building down to the classroom. So the way that we've done that is we've developed a framework that has components within it. And those components lay out over a framework across the building wide and then transition to the classroom. So we try to make a seamless connection between the building wide to the classroom.
Now, what would a parent say recognize from these efforts? Is it different? I mean, obviously this is a unique program. Not every school system is engaged as heavily as Des Moines is to provide a great environment for the kids in this way. Are the parents noticing some of these efforts?
I think that's a good question. We have gotten lots of feedback from our parents. We've led community stakeholder groups over the past year and a half about, what does this look like? Does school feel safe? Does school feel welcoming for parents? And we've gotten a ton of feedback that's really helped our problem solving. So I would say right now our future is that we haven't reached where we want to be, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress in connecting parents and families with our schools. The thing that we got the most feedback is that we want the parents and students, community members want to feel connected, and they have authentic ways to connect within our schools. And we're really working right now to make sure that that can happen.
Now, in terms of the needs of students, beyond academic performance, does it include ideas that relate to some mental health and other issues, whether it's hunger or parenting issues or suicide ideation, things like that? I mean, what is some of the broad sort of quiver of topics and issues you deal with children and parents?
Yeah, I think that's a perfect, you laid out a lot of different ideas there. So we have a lot of need-based services. So if students are need for housing, food, clothing, supplies, shelter, anything like that, we have a whole team of folks. We have community school coordinators and our success case managers that touch every single school and work together as a large group, a team to help address some of those physiological basic needs issues. And at the school site and across the district route, we move up to that to safety. And we have a lot of physical plant things that we work towards safety. And we have a lot of relationship things that we work to develop safety, whether that's emotional safety, physical safety, like physical plant security things as well. And then the next step, we really work on that relationship piece. So that's kind of the foundation. We do have a lot of services that we can provide when students show an increase in need. That could be something like partnerships within our community. We have Mosaic Family Counseling is one of our major partners that provides what we call our student assistance program. That's a free service for every student, any family that wants to have counseling assistance. They can move into therapy if they feel like that's appropriate. That's one of our major partners. We also have several medical clinics within our district. We have one located at Central Campus. That's a full dental medical clinic that's free for students to come to, have their teeth checked out, have a medical exam. We have one that we've developed over at the Hoover Meredith Complex. That's free for that. And then every high school and almost all of our middle schools and several elementary schools have food pantries. I would give you the wrong amount of food, but it's tons and tons and tons of food is given out every month from our schools. I can tell you that with COVID-19 right now, every week we probably give away close to, I know on Fridays alone, we give close to 50,000 meals away on Fridays for the weekend at all our school sites. So we've expanded those services. And so we absolutely address those needs from foundational lens. There's also things that students, move up the tiers of support, need individual support. We can make referrals out to individuals that need support. We have partners that provide in-home family therapy. We have partners that provide some attendance support. We have lots of individuals and lots of partners within our community that really help us support that whole child aspect and the whole family unit to help students be successful at school.
That's really fantastic. I want to continue the conversation. And when we return from the break, I'd like to talk about sort of the scale and magnitude of this project in the Des Moines school system. Come back to us after the break. You don't want to miss this.
I don't know how we would have survived without Mediacom. We have 5 kids, my wife and I. And we have Mediacom for all of our internet and all of our cable services. So I'm stuck in my house, but at the same time, I'm connected to people all over the world, and it's been fantastic.
Thanks to Mediacom, I've had reliable internet to continue to work business as usual, so that I can continue to provide for myself and my family.
Right now, we all feel like the world is in a standstill. The internet has played a huge role in allowing us to stay connected to our jobs and the kids' schooling online and finding fun and creative ways to stay connected with the ones that we love. We couldn't do it without Mediacom.
Welcome back. We're having a conversation about school climate and culture and how educators have worked to expand the bridge between school and community in Des Moines Public Schools. Jake, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Peter.
Just to give our listeners an idea, this is a pretty big organization, Des Moines Public Schools. How many students, teacher schools, to the best of your ability? I'm not trying to test you.
Right.
How big is this operation here?
Roughly, we have 34,000 students. We have about 60 different school sites. We have roughly 5,000 staff members. So if we put all those staff members and students together, we're talking about 40,000 people that interact on a daily basis together in a whole community across the city of Des Moines at 60 different school sites. So it's quite a few different things going on, different folks, people, communities happening.
And even with school out right now, technically remote, you still have a lot of responsibility. You still feed a lot of children.
Absolutely, yes. We are providing meals every single day of the week, Monday through Friday. I think roughly, at all of our high schools, all of our middle schools, and then several of our elementary schools. Again, all that all that information is available on the Des Moines Public Schools website, which is dmschools.org. We have a whole page that's committed to the COVID-19 supports that we have in place. We have, our teaching and learning department has put out curriculum every week that's, that parents can access from our website. We have now moved all of our teaching to a digital platform, Canvas, which is our learning management system. So parents have the access and students have access not only in a paper downloadable form from our website. We're handing out copies at our food site. So if you don't have access to internet right now or don't have electronics, you can have a printed copy. We also have then classrooms that have moved into a digital space. So we have, we've deployed devices. I don't know the number, but upwards of probably 10,000 or more different devices have been deployed to families and students over the past 2 weeks. We've deployed MiFi devices. We've supported, our partnership with Mediacom. We have different groups that we've worked with to provide internet service across the city for our students. So right now, we have been able to give access to all of our students through digital platform, print platform, virtual platform of the classroom to access teaching and learning is one piece. And I guess, food and meals every single day of the week. On Fridays, I know for sure we're pushing 50,000 meals on Fridays at all of our food sites or all of our sites that we have parents coming to. We are currently working on ways that we can continue to support families. We have a new process that we are making sure that we're connecting with students and families on a weekly basis, if not more than that. So we have checks and balances in place to make sure that students feel supported. And we have provided lots of different supports that way. But I think most importantly, the thing that we are focused on right now is letting our students know that we're here to support them, that we're here to answer their questions. We're here to provide and help meet their needs as much as possible. So at any time, if anybody needs support on our DM Schools website, we have a link that you can click on. You can request support in various different ways, whether it's academic support, social emotional support, physiological support, needs-based services. If you fill that simple form out, we review those every single day, and we have a team at the district office that looks for those submissions and does it, replies in person to those people. It calls them, connects with them, and connects them with the help that they're seeking. So we feel really positive about the way that we've supported families and students even at this time, and feel that we still want to connect with those students and families.
Well, now we know that when there's an actual face-to-face connection, that I would guess that it probably you get a larger utilization for people with needs. What do you think is the fall off when we go into this technological connection instead of the human connection? Are we servicing a significant, I would think we're servicing a significant lower number, and maybe don't even have the same kind of intervention available? I don't know.
Right. I mean, you're right in a couple of different things. I believe the level of need in terms, if we talk about the physiological need and the safety security type supports that families need, it feels like it has increased over this time. That when we don't have the consistency of meal, breakfast and lunch, transportation, supportive services every single day, we felt like in our district that those supports have been needed more from our staff members. As far as things like, a lot of my day-to-day work that can be consumed with student behavior issues, violations of the law, those have definitely decreased. Those have gone down. Mostly the opportunity doesn't exist for those things to occur. However, the need of physical interaction, emotional support for students and families has also dramatically increased. We see when students are starting to feel isolated, they're reaching out to friends, they're reaching out to staff members and teachers. And so we're really feeling that now and doing our best to make sure that we're connecting with those students and those families as often as we can.
Well, when we come back from the break, I'd like to bring Dr. Genteel into the conversation. We've talked about a project in the schools where we're going to try and be able to do some sort of real-time or close to real-time measurement of some of these risk factors, so that the school can be more adept at responding. And it sounds like you have a fantastic framework, and a conversation like this may be very relevant considering that this challenge of technology has now grown into a context where we probably need more technological tools to get the measurements we need and the connections we need to help kids. So I'm looking forward to continue that conversation after the break. When we come back, We'll keep you informed. See you then. Don't want to miss this.
I don't know how we would have survived without Mediacom. We have 5 kids, my wife and I, and we have Mediacom for all of our internet and all of our cable services. So I'm stuck in my house, but at the same time, I'm connected to people all over the world, and it's been fantastic.
Thanks to Mediacom, I've had reliable internet to continue to work business as usual, that I can continue to provide for myself and my family.
Right now, we all feel like the world is in a standstill. The internet has played a huge role in allowing us to stay connected to our jobs and the kids schooling online and finding fun and creative ways to stay connected with the ones that we love. We couldn't do it without Mediacom.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad, as we get an inside look at how education is changing and building a better world for our children. I'd like to introduce Dr. Douglas Genteel, professor of psychology, a research psychologist, a child psychologist, though he looks a little older than that.
I do.
Doug, you have some comments you wanted to share with us.
I think one of the things that amazed me listening to you, Jake, about this is I think many people, when they think about education and they think about schools, they think about like a tutor. It's someone who's just giving you information, somewhat uninvolved with you. Whereas the way you've described the Des Moines school system is like a grandmother, taking care of the whole child and making sure the child's fed and getting all, the things the child needs, emotional needs. And from that, then the grandmother can teach, right? And I think it's just an amazing thing. I don't know that I've heard of other school systems doing this, although I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I think, I appreciate your, I'll say thank you. Appreciate the work. We look at a lot of models across the United States, and one of them, Oakland, California, Oakland School District is an example of a district that does this whole child approach that we've looked at. There's several districts that we feel like do a good job at different pieces, and we're trying to do our best to address those. Like you said, if we can address the whole child pieces that help the child learn, then we can, obtain and get to the educational learning piece of those things. So I like the grandmother analogy. I'm gonna steal that.
You're welcome to. But I think it's really remarkable if you think about the teachers you loved, the ones that you felt taught you something, it wasn't just because they had information. It was because they connected with you at some other level. You felt they cared about you. And when you feel like the teacher doesn't care about you, you don't want to, my daughters would talk about how they hated this class. They hated math. It's not math's fault. It's you just didn't have a good relationship with that teacher. And so I think this is where culture and the climate matter so much, but I don't hear many other schools talking about it. What was it that really made Des Moines commit to this model?
A couple of things, there's a couple of things that kind of help us swing us that way. I mean, if you look at the research, like you mentioned, several pieces of things that, kids, they really do care about what the teacher believes about them and what they think about them. And that's one of the major driving factors of even positive attendance is that students attend school because they have a healthy and positive relationship with the teacher at the school. So we know what the research says about relationship. We know what it says about climate and culture. So we're trying to leverage that research, those practices to increase not only attendance, but have students feel good and better when they come to school so we can produce the outcomes that we need to, that those students need to have those skills. I think research has also shown in our practices it demonstrated that if we neglect the whole child approach, you can look at the data that we've produced over the last 20 years, what that looks like, and what we can produce are outcomes that are marginal. And those that are already marginalized within our community, if we forget to address or choose not to address the whole child, get further marginalized in that process. And that's not an equitable system. That's not what we're trying to build in Des Moines. And I think the biggest disparity that I see with other districts, but not that, not pointing fingers, is that when you look at foundational needs or, those need-based services, it's more of a control piece of those things. It's a do or do not do type of situation versus how can I help you be successful as a whole person. So I think those sometimes get behaviors one thing, not thinking, separate than academics, when really, behavior can be communication to what may or may not be causing or, leading to those type of things.
It seems as if this is a form of whole child parenting that's sort of growing within the school system. And maybe it's important for parents watching this to understand that these principles are not lost just in use at the schools. They need to carry into the home. And I think that will start building that kind of cooperation with parents and their children in the schools, which is something we all, at least anecdotally, believe needs to be improved. Well, we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to invite Jake and Doug back to share some insights, comments, and advice that can help you look at your child with a new light, one that involves climate, culture, and transformation. See you after the break.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We've seen a side of education that sets the tone for the future with a caring and compassionate connection between students and the community and family. Let's see what advice our guests have for parents and caregivers. Jake, you're doing something really cool. What advice would you share with parents when it comes to climate and culture?
Yeah, I'm a parent, so I think I can speak from that perspective. I have 3 children. I want parents to know that as Des Moines Public Schools, as a whole unit, we believe and know that parents want the best for their children. They want them to be successful. I've been in Des Moines Public Schools for over 10 years, and every time I've talked with a parent, they want their child to be successful and to be the best person, child, student they can be. We know that, and I think what I want to connect with and what we can help with is that we want that too. And we want to be able to help provide the support as Des Moines Public Schools to parents, even right now where maybe support is going to look a little bit different. But we are willing to come out to folks' houses right now. We have teams of folks that are out delivering devices for students that can't leave the house or parents that can't leave the house. We're delivering meals. We're mailing home educational packets to folks. So if you have something that you need help with, please ask. Reach out to your building principal, your leadership team, your school counselor, your school psychologist, your case manager, whoever that might be. Get a hold of them, and we will certainly provide you the support that you need and deserve.
So now when you look at that connection, is there a website or a place that parents need to go to?
Right. If you just head on to our dmschools.org website, you can see there's a COVID-19 page. There's also lots of different buttons there, but you head to that page. We have a list of all the resources that are available. And you can even just call anybody at the school, and somebody at the school will help you connect to those resources. But like I said, on that website, there's a fillable form that you can fill out that will submit, and somebody will get a hold of you within 24 hours of you filling out that form. But again, the basic thing is you could certainly call the school. You could email the school. All of our school counselors have put up digital calendars, so you can jump on that calendar and say you want to speak with somebody, and they will connect with you as soon as possible.
So from a parent's point of view, though the students aren't there, it's business as usual. The schools aren't working.
Yeah, and I think we see that more responsivity where we have staff that are responding multiple hours outside of school hours, which is fine to help support students and families.
Doug, as a parent, you'd mentioned in an earlier segment, this was sort of a novel program. What are your thoughts about that kind of accessibility support services?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the reasons I like paying taxes. Now, I want my taxes to go to support things like this so that every child has a chance to grow up, healthy and educated and be able to achieve as much as they possibly can. One of the things I've been seeing over social media is lots of parents feeling like failures, though, realizing just how hard it is to be a classroom teacher, realizing just how hard it is to have enough patience with their kids when they have to deal with them all day long. And I think we need to recognize that that's okay. It's okay not to be great at all those things. If we go back to my grandmother analogy, if the child walks in the house with torn pants and a bloody knee, the grandmother doesn't say, "Did you get your homework done?" Grandmother addresses the need that's most present, and I think that's what parents are finding that they have to do is, they've got to keep their kids fed, and now they have to do 3 meals a day with them rather than perhaps just dinner. And that may be as much as they can do, and it's all right that's enough. There was a book a few years ago about the good enough parent, and in a sense, that's all we need to be. We don't have to be perfect at every aspect of it. We don't need to have to try and do everything the schools do, because the schools are still there to help you.
Thank you very much. And Jake, thank you for joining us today and sharing a resource that I'd say parents and caregivers in Des Moines should be proud that they have available to help them get their kids through school safely in this most difficult time. And thank you all for joining us today. You go to our website, ahealthyiowa.org, and register for updates. You can get news of our upcoming shows. Keep your eye on Mediacom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore Iowa's stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Only on Mediacom MC22, your local programming leader.